So I will do, let's finish this up. So it'll be, I'll see if there's any way to combine the two videos later. All right, so hopefully it was still recording. So t1, 0, 0, so the t's are all between 0 and 1, and they add up to 1. So if you think about this, over here, this corresponds to 100% is at 0, 0. And over here, this will correspond to have nothing at 0, 0. And this is going to be basically the line t2 plus t3 equals 1. So if you draw that line, if t2 equals 0, I'm right here at the top. If t3 equals 0, I'm down here. And this will just give me the line t2 plus t3 equals 1. If I go this line over here, this would be t2 plus t3 equals a half. And over here, this would be the equal a quarter. So really, every point in the triangle can be written uniquely in these coordinates t1, t2, t3. Well, I probably should use t0, t1, t2 to match what's going on there. I apologize. So why is this similar to what's going on? Well, so imagine I have a continuous map from the triangle to the triangle. So I start off, here's my triangle 0, 1, 2, and I have a map to 0, 1, 2. I can represent any point here. I'll write the coordinates as t0, t1, t2. I'll do it correctly now. And I'll send this to some point here. Let's send it to the point here. And let's call that f of t0, t1, t2. Or if you want, call it s0, s1, s2. It's mapped to some new point in the triangle. And I'm just using a really good basis. The sum of the t's is 1. t0 plus t1 plus t2 is 1. And the sum of the s's is 1. So if I look and I compare these 2 points, if it's a fixed point, it gets mapped to itself. So what must be true if it's a fixed point? What must be the relation? So what must be the relation if it's a fixed point? So if fixed point, what do you know about the relationship between the t's and the s's? They're equal. t0 equals s0 dot dot dot. If it's not a fixed point, they're unequal. If not, color it 0 if 0th coordinate is the first that is larger under f, and so on, so on, so on. So imagine they're not equal. Well, if they're not equal, then either t0 doesn't equal s0, or t1 doesn't equal s1, or t2 doesn't equal s2. So if one of them is a little bit larger, another one has to be smaller. If one of them is smaller, one of them has to be larger. One of them has to be this first coordinate that's larger. Or one of them has to be the first coordinate that's smaller. So let me just see which way I want to do this. I think I want to do the first one that is smaller. I want to do the first one that is smaller. So I will color it 0 if the 0th coordinate is smaller here than it was here. So if you think about what's going on here, I have all of my mass here at this corner. The only thing I can color it has to be 0. It doesn't go to itself, so it's got to move up somewhere. So t0 had to get smaller, because here was 100%. It was all over here. I'm sorry? So it was all on 0, so I have to color the corner 0, because it's not a fixed point, so I can't have everything here, so I had to move it out. So initially, this is the point 1, 0, 0. It's all at t0. So this point here would initially be the point 1, 0, 0. So that point has to be colored 0. Similarly, this point it's 0, 1, 0. All of it is at t1. So this point has to be colored 1. Similarly, this point has to be colored 2. If I take anything on the bottom, I initially had nothing in the t2 component. So t2 can't become smaller. So I've got to color things on the bottom either 0 or 1. Similarly, I have to color things here 1 and 2, and then here I have to color things 0 and 2. And then inside, I can color it however I want. So what this tells us is that it's the same situation as that. And it has to be, if I just make a small mesh, I thought I had another minute. All right, so I have 1 minute. So I can just keep doing these small meshes and getting all these triangles. And I will get a very small triangle which has the 0, 1, 2 label. And I can do a smaller triangle and it's 0, 1, 2, and a smaller one. Well, because my function is continuous, in the limit, they all have to be basically taking on the same value. And so I'll leave it as that. But as you get smaller and smaller and smaller, I've got a point, and because of continuity, I've got a point here where it's smaller here, it's smaller there, and it's smaller there. They can't all be smaller. The only way that will work is it violates the assumption that I didn't have a fixed point. So I'll leave that as a place because I know we've got to run off. But this is why we care so much about this problem. All right, so I have about 15 upload files.